Welcome back to the Rock Vault, where the amps are always hot. Today, we're dropping the needle on a decade that redefined freedom, rebellion, and soul. The 1970s weren't just heard, they were felt. Let's relive 10 rock anthems that captured the true spirit of the 70s.
On a dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair.
Hotel California isn't just a song, it's a cinematic journey through the sun-drenched mystery of 1970s America. With its shimmering 12-string intro and haunting harmonies, the Eagles painted a portrait of beauty, excess, and disillusionment that defined the decade. Every note feels like twilight on the open highway. Beautiful, endless, and a little dangerous. At its core, the song captures the 1970s spirit of freedom colliding with temptation. The band had traded dusty country roads for palm-lined boulevards, and that shift echoes in every line. The lyrics drift between dream and nightmare, a reflection of the decade's golden promise turning bittersweet. It's rock's version of a mirage, alluring, impossible to forget. When Don Felder and Joe Walsh locked into that legendary dual guitar outro, it wasn't just musicianship, it was storytelling. You could almost feel the California sunset fading into the Pacific, the last notes lingering like ghosts in the warm air. The track became a metaphor for the American dream itself. Seductive, surreal, and fleeting. Listeners in '76 felt it deeply. Kids driving convertibles down Route 66, couples dancing barefoot in dim hotel rooms, everyone heard their own story in that song. It was a mirror of the decade's contradictions, beauty and burnout, freedom and fallout. Even today, Hotel California stands as a monument to the 70s, that brief moment when rock was equal parts poetry, perfection, and warning. If this track captured the haunting glamour of the West Coast dream, our next song carried the restless spirit of a generation finding its voice.
There's a lady shoe on the cliff.
If the 1970s had a sacred hymn, this was it. Stairway to Heaven wasn't just a song. It was a pilgrimage. From its soft acoustic opening to its thunderous climax, it captured the decade's search for meaning amid chaos, its longing for something beyond the material. Every chord Jimmy Page struck seemed to glow with mystery, while Robert Plant's voice carried a kind of spiritual ache that no one had heard before. The song unfolds like a journey through the very soul of the 70s, a decade wrestling between peace and power. Page and Plant had crafted something bigger than rock, an epic tapestry where folk mysticism met electric fire. It was introspection and explosion, reflection and revelation, all in one. In an era defined by rebellion, this track asked us to listen, to feel. Teens who grew up on loud guitars sat quietly, headphones on, letting this song wash over them. FM radio DJs would whisper as it began, like they were announcing a sacred rite. By the time the drums hit, listeners weren't just hearing music. They were ascending with it. The 1970s were about searching. For love, for purpose, for light in the smoke. Stairway to Heaven mirrored that perfectly. A slow climb from innocence to awareness. It united hard rock fans and folk dreamers alike, each hearing a different meaning in its verses. And that final guitar solo, 8 notes that changed the course of rock forever, still feels like transcendence frozen in sound. When Plant finally cries, and she's buying a stairway to heaven, it isn't about a woman. It's about all of us chasing something pure, something lost. If Hotel California captured the American dream, fading into illusion, this song was its answer. The hope that somewhere beyond, there was still meaning left in the music. When Dream On first hit the airwaves, it felt like the voice of a new generation. Raw, poetic, and burning with ambition, Steven Tyler's haunting vocals carried a kind of fragile power. The sound of youth staring down time itself. It was both hopeful and heartbreaking. A reminder that every dreamer has their clock ticking. At a time when rock was exploding into wild new forms, from hard riffs to cosmic jams, Dream On stood apart for its honesty. It wasn't about rebellion or excess. It was about reflection. Joe Perry's guitar work felt like a confession in 6 strings, while Tyler poured his soul into every line like it might be his last. The song started soft, almost like a whisper, then built into something thunderous, a musical metaphor for life itself. For those who grew up in the 1970s, this wasn't just a track on the radio, it was an anthem for growing older while still holding on to your spark. Teenagers blasted it from basement speakers, trying to believe their own dreams could last forever. And for their parents, who'd lived through the highs and heartbreaks of the decade, those final screams of "Dream On" hit deeper than words ever could. It climbed the charts, slowly, finding new life year after year, just like the message it carried. By the late 70s, Aerosmith had gone from smoky clubs to stadium lights, and this song became the thread connecting it all. Dream On wasn't just their breakthrough. It was a statement of survival, echoing through every era since. If Stairway to Heaven captured the search for meaning, Dream On was the voice reminding us to keep reaching, even when the years start showing in the mirror. By 1977, Fleetwood Mac had turned personal chaos into rock perfection. Go Your Own Way wasn't just a song. It was a breakup captured on vinyl, every strum bleeding honesty. Lindsey Buckingham's ragged guitar tone and raw delivery made it feel like he was tearing his heart out right there in the studio. Yet behind the pain was an unmistakable pulse of freedom, the sound of the 70s refusing to stay still. The song's tension was real. Every member of the band was breaking apart, romantically or emotionally, yet somehow creating their greatest work. The verses felt like confrontation, the chorus like release. Buckingham's sharp chords clashed beautifully with Mick Fleetwood's relentless drumming, while Christine McVie's organ shimmered like sunlight through heartbreak. Stevie Nicks stood on the other mic, singing harmonies that cut deep, the kind you can only deliver when you know the person singing to you. It was the sound of the 1970s laid bare. Love and loss under a California sky, broadcast to millions who recognized their own stories in those lyrics. Go Your Own Way captured the spirit of independence that ran through the decade. The courage to walk away, to start over, to choose yourself. When the guitar solo hit, it felt like the emotional explosion the whole decade had been building toward. Raw, unfiltered, honest. Fans didn't just sing along, they lived through it. You could hear this song blasting from car radios on endless summer highways, wind rushing through open windows, hearts healing one lyric at a time. Fleetwood Mac didn't just write about heartbreak, they embodied it, and in doing so gave the 70s its most human anthem. If Dream On was about believing in tomorrow, Go Your Own Way was about surviving today, and doing it with the volume all the way up. Few songs captured the restless soul of the 1970s, like Bruce Springsteen's Born to Run. From its opening rush of guitars and drums, it felt like breaking free from every dead-end town in America. The track was pure motion, headlights on asphalt, denim jackets flapping in the wind, and that unshakable belief that life was waiting somewhere just over the horizon. Springsteen built the song like an anthem for the working class, a blend of Phil Spector's wall of sound and raw Jersey grit. Every instrument crashes forward like a freight train of emotion. The glockenspiel sparkles, the sax roars, the drums thunder, and through it all, Bruce's voice bleeds urgency. It's a song about hope clawing its way through exhaustion. In 1975, when America was still licking the wounds of Vietnam and Watergate, Born to Run felt like redemption. It was rock's great escape, not from the country, but into its heart. Listeners saw themselves in its characters. Young lovers on borrowed time, chasing something bigger than themselves. On car radios, that solo felt like a sunrise over the turnpike. Clarence Clemens blowing the sound of hope straight into the sky. It was the sound of every dreamer refusing to give up, even when the world told them to. Kids across the country hit the gas a little harder when it played, because for 4 minutes, they were born to run. Born to Run turned Bruce Springsteen from a scrappy bar band hero into a voice of a generation. It captured everything the 70s stood for: youth, rebellion, and the hunger for more. It wasn't about fame or fortune. It was about believing that no matter how small your town, the world was still wide open. If Go Your Own Way was about walking away, Born to Run was about running toward something, with fire in your chest and the whole decade chasing behind you.
Mama just killed a man.
When Bohemian Rhapsody hit in 1975, it didn't just break the rules, it rewrote them. 6 minutes long, no chorus, operatic vocals, and a guitar solo that felt like a lightning strike. It was theatrical, unexplainable, and utterly revolutionary. Freddie Mercury turned rock into art, not pretentious but passionate, wild, and timeless. Queen fused rock, opera, and pure imagination into something no one had ever heard before. It was the sound of ambition meeting brilliance. Brian May's guitar tone cut through like molten gold, while Mercury's voice shifted from gentle confession to operatic explosion. The entire band moved as one, a perfectly synchronized storm of talent. But beneath the spectacle, there was emotion. Bohemian Rhapsody was haunted by doubt, freedom, and the strange beauty of letting go. It felt deeply personal, yet universal enough that everyone could find themselves in it. Whether you were an outsider, a dreamer, or someone lost in the noise of the 70s, this song saw you. When that solo hits, it's like the soul breaking free from its cage, a scream in melody form. Freddie once said the song didn't need to be understood, only felt. And that's exactly what the 1970s were about, feeling something real in a world that often felt unreal. Then came the head-banging bridge, the moment when restraint shattered. Every garage, every car radio, every dive bar echoed with voices singing Galileo at the top of their lungs. For 6 minutes, the whole world belonged to Queen. Bohemian Rhapsody captured everything the 70s stood for: experimentation, rebellion, emotion, and pure wonder. It wasn't just a song. It was the decade in musical form, daring, beautiful, and forever unforgettable. If Born to Run made us chase freedom, Bohemian Rhapsody showed us what it sounds like when freedom finally flies. Sokora Hin.
Big wheels keep on turning.
Sweet Home Alabama is the sound of Southern pride wrapped in electric swagger. Released in 1974, it became more than just a hit. It was a declaration. That opening guitar riff from Ed King is one of the most recognizable in rock history. A few seconds that can transport anyone straight into the humid summer air of the American South. At its heart, this song captured the independent spirit that defined the 70s. Proud, unfiltered, and loud. Ronnie Van Zant's voice had grit and honesty, the kind that could make you believe every word. Skynyrd blended blues, rock, and country into something raw and powerful. Music that spoke for real people with calloused hands and open hearts. It was born from controversy but survived on soul. Sweet Home Alabama wasn't about politics. It was about belonging. The way those harmonized guitars soared together felt like freedom. It was a reminder that rock didn't have to come from Los Angeles or London. It could come from Jacksonville and still shake the world. Every party, every dive bar, every car ride across America, this song followed. You could hear it spilling from jukeboxes, from open truck windows, from front porches on summer nights. It became the anthem of Saturday nights and southern sunrises, of small towns that refused to fade. The band's dual guitar interplay gave it a signature edge, bluesy, melodic, and fierce. You could almost see the sparks fly when Alan Collins and Gary Rossington traded licks. It was American rock in its purest, most joyful form. Confident without arrogance, timeless without trying. Sweet Home Alabama didn't just capture the sound of the South, it captured the heartbeat of the 1970s. Pride, resilience, and a little rebellion in every chord. If Bohemian Rhapsody showed how far rock could soar, Sweet Home Alabama reminded us to keep our feet planted in the dirt that raised us.
We all came out to Montreux on a lake.
Smoke on the Water is the very definition of a rock anthem, built on 4 notes that changed everything. When it roared onto turntables in 1972, it sounded like power itself, raw, unshakable, and impossible to ignore. Deep Purple wasn't just playing hard rock. They were forging it. That riff, gritty, bold, unforgettable, became the battle cry of an entire generation learning their first chords on beat-up guitars. The song was born from real chaos, a fire that tore through a casino in Montreux, Switzerland, right across the lake where the band was recording. You can almost see the smoke rising through those iconic chords. But more than the story, it's the sound that made it immortal. Ritchie Blackmore's thunderous guitar tone, Ian Pace's pounding drums, and John Lord's swirling Hammond organ fusing blues and distortion into something mythic. It was the sound of the 70s growing louder, tougher, and more electric. Fans didn't just listen, they felt it vibrate in their bones. Kids in garages, soldiers overseas, truckers on midnight highways, everyone knew that riff. It became a rite of passage, the universal handshake between anyone who loved rock. The beauty of it all was how simple it seemed. 4 notes, but they carried rebellion, energy, and unity. Smoke on the Water wasn't polished. It was alive. It was proof that the heart of the 70s wasn't about perfection. It was about passion that could set the world on fire. And when that final chorus hits, it's impossible not to join in, shouting the words like an anthem that belongs to everyone who's ever felt rock's pulse under their skin. If Sweet Home Alabama grounded the decade, Smoke on the Water electrified it, the sound of rock finding its full power.
On a dark desert highway, cool wind in my hair.
Hotel California wasn't just another radio hit. It was a mirror held up to the 1970s. The Eagles turned the excess, dreams, and illusions of California living into something hauntingly beautiful. With its ghostly chords and smooth, mysterious melody, the song painted an image of paradise that slowly turned into a trap. Don Felder's 12-string guitar set the stage, shimmering like heat off desert asphalt, while Don Henley's voice guided us through a story that felt more like a dream you couldn't quite wake from. The lyrics were poetic and sinister all at once. You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave. It was equal parts warning and confession, capturing the darker side of fame, fortune, and freedom. But for listeners, Hotel California became something deeper. It represented that bittersweet moment when youth's open road begins to fade, when the sunset looks just a little more golden, and the nights start to feel a little longer. Fans across America would let that slow groove roll through their car speakers, watching city lights blur through the windshield. Lost in thought, that guitar solo remains one of the greatest in rock history, a duel between Don Felder and Joe Walsh that builds, layer by layer, into pure emotion. It's not just a solo. It's a dialogue, echoing the conflict and beauty woven through the song. Hotel California defined the 1970s because it understood them, the dream and the disillusionment, the gold and the gray. It's the sound of the decade closing its eyes, looking back on everything it gained and everything it lost. If Smoke on the Water gave rock its edge, Hotel California gave it its reflection, the moment the decade looked inward and realized the ride couldn't last forever.
It's easy if you try.
When John Lennon released Imagine in 1971, the world paused. Amid the noise and chaos of the decade, here was a song that whispered instead of shouted, soft but unshakable. Lennon's voice, clear and tender over that simple piano melody, carried a message that went beyond rock. It was peace in musical form, a dream woven into chords. The brilliance of Imagine was its simplicity. No distortion, no theatrics, just emotion. Lennon stripped everything back, letting his words carry the weight. A world without borders, without greed, without hate. In a decade that often swung between revolution and reflection, the song became its heartbeat. It reminded people that the 70s weren't just about rebellion. They were about hope. Listeners across the world felt it deeply. Whether played on war protest fields, over candlelit dinners, or through worn record players in quiet bedrooms, Imagine had a way of stilling the room. It wasn't naive. It was necessary. Lennon had seen both the chaos of fame and the darkness of division, and this was his answer. A call for unity that still resonates 50 years later. It wasn't just a hit. It was a spiritual moment in rock history. Imagine crossed genres, generations, and nations. It stood at the center of the 1970s like a quiet flame, proving that sometimes the most powerful songs don't scream for attention. They invite reflection. And for countless fans, Lennon's dream became their own. Each lyric felt like an open hand, asking the world to try, even if only for 3.5 minutes, to believe in something better. If Free Bird soared through the sky, Imagine floated gently above it, reminding everyone that the spirit of the 70s wasn't just about living free, but dreaming of peace. And there you have it, the songs that captured the spirit of the 70s, a decade when rock wasn't just heard, it was lived. These weren't just tracks on a record, they were memories etched into the soundtrack of an entire generation. Songs that carried freedom, love, and rebellion in every note. Each one still echoes through time, reminding us what it meant to truly feel alive through music. Which of these takes you straight back to the golden age of rock? Let us know in the comments, and until next time, keep the vinyl spinning.